Chris Avellone has come out with a piece spilling what he can as far as what he knows about what the heck is going on with Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, which is far more subtitles than any video game should have. He had this article up on medium.com, so it's just it's a place where like anyone can post articles, I think. Anyway, so he put this up here. As you may or may not know, Chris Avellone is he's a writer for video games, and he's been involved in a lot of high-profile projects. He was involved with Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2, which is a sequel to Vampire Bloodlines.
Yeah, he was brought on according to the company, the primary company making the game, not Paradox, who was basically publishing the game, and who basically owned the rights for it at this point. He was brought on as a lead-ish.
Well, it turns out he was at the pitch meeting. He was involved in pitching this game to Paradox with the people at Hardsuit Labs, and it turns out that Hardsuit Labs actually pitched the project to Paradox with Chris Avallone's involvement, as well as Brian Mitsoda, who was deeply involved in the first game. So anyway, I'm obviously not going to read this whole thing. I have isolated sort of the big takeaways from this article, and then we'll get Saib's analysis, because he's been talking to industry people from quite a bit today, trying to get a handle on what's going on with Bloodlines 2, because we just don't know. Oh, some more additional context. Hardsuit Labs, the developer, was pulled off the project. We reported on this. How long ago was that?
This was news back in December, essentially.
Right. Okay, yeah.
So we were all kind of shocked, and we were like, what is going on with this game? Like, it was supposed to have been released like almost 2 years ago at this point. And I mean, that's what the sales were, but then it got delayed, and then it got delayed again, then it got delayed again, they are basically like, we're not making the game with Hardsuit Labs anymore. And it's been dead quiet now, as far as officially speaking goes. And this is why Chris basically spoke up on the matter. He is in a place to know, because as we just said, he was basically there on the pitch floor, right? And then according to Hardsuit, he was, and I believe according to Paradox as well, he was the lead writer on it. But then they later said that, they hadn't used any of his stuff for a long time.
He says that as well in here. He says he was part of the pitch. He worked on the project from 2016 to mid-2018. He was not fired from the project when last year when a whole bunch of other people were. His contract was up in mid-2018. It was a 30-month contract. I heard it was up, and they didn't renew it. The odd thing here, though, is he did work on this game, writing for this game for 2.5 years, and Paradox and Hardsuit used nothing he wrote.
Yeah,
it sounds like nothing Chris Avellone wrote is going to be in the game, in the final version of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2. But again, we don't even know where this game is, who's working on it, when it's coming out, what state it's in. We know nothing. And Chris Avellone knows nothing as well. As he reveals in this article, nobody he worked with from Hardsuit Labs when he was working with the company, he says nobody he was working with is still at the company. And the producers at Paradox that he was working with are no longer with Paradox. So like everybody's gone. So he's not even connected to anybody who is still working on this project. He doesn't know why everybody was fired or why the project was taken away from Hardsuit Labs.
And we do have a little bit of a trail to pick up on this. We know that at one point Paradox bought stock in Hardsuit Labs to the tune of about 33%. We don't know if somebody else has moved in and acquired a larger percentage, or even another percentage that Paradox didn't feel comfortable having with. And we already know of the Lord of the Rings. Sorry, was it the Lord of the Rings game? Yeah, it was the Lord of the Rings game that was canceled because Amazon was working on all this new tech, all this new game, all this cool stuff with this developer, and then Tencent went in and bought out a majority share in that company. And so now, Amazon basically was in the position, well, do we allow them to continue to make the game? And basically Tencent gets to walk in and gets to look at all of our fancy tech for this, to basically rip it off or to do something else. And they maybe weren't comfortable with that. That's an option. The other option, which is I would think is probably more likely or is in combination with the first one, is that Artsuit just wasn't up to it. And the writers weren't up to it.
They've never done an RPG before, have they?
No, and what you find out now by looking at their list of recent hires and the fact that they laid off about 3 to 4 of their writers, which was almost the entire writing staff. They have not hired any new writers. They're working on a new project, and they're hiring a bunch of tech guys and engine guys and other stuff. So, to me, that says something that perhaps this game hasn't perhaps Heartsuit was not up to it. They couldn't get it done. They couldn't build it the way that they wanted to, and because of that, they can't make anything, right? That's narrative based going forward, and they're steering clear of it. If that's the case, then we got ourselves basically a game that failed to hit its targets, and they need to basically go over it from the beginning and completely rebuild it. So,
and that, yeah. I mean, that's massive if that is the case. That's just basically, yeah, if they're having to rebuild that from the ground up, yeah, we're going to be we could be waiting for this game for a long time. Again, we don't even know who's working on it, if anyone is working on it right now. Unless you've found something out through your poking around today, Saib. But
I have not. I do not have a name of a new company. I know that they are working on it with a new company. I just don't know who that is.
Okay. So work is being done, but we
yes, I do not, and I do not know the state that the game is in, how fast it's looking to be done, or what the overall direction of the game is going to be.
This may not be a satisfying answer for some of you, but I guess the truth of the matter just is we don't know. Chris Avellone doesn't know.
I know there's a few people in our community who have pre-ordered this game. And I will say right now, I doubt very much if we will see this game this year. We will probably see this game in the next 2 years, but I do not think we're going to see it this year. Get your money back for this. It's obviously not coming soon. If it was coming out this year, they would have mentioned anything about it in any of their press and event stuff that they've had lined up for a while now. If they've had to gut and rebuild the game completely from scratch, then we're looking at a substantial wait, probably 2023. So don't let a big corporation sit on your, pre-order money. Get that back, and then look at it when it. And again, it may not even be close to the same game.
One final thing to say about this. Chris Avellone believes he was brought on to the Vampire Project to give it RPG cred. He also believes that Brian Mitsoda was brought on to give the project, quote, more validity. And he said this publicly in this article. So, yeah, he's kind of the impression that they wanted his name and Brian Mitsoda's name on the project as a marketing thing. So that's his opinion. So he kind of agrees with you there, Saib. And then I guess there's not much more to say on that. If you're interested in the article, again, you can find it at chrisavellone.medium.com. He's posted a few things there, but he's got, this is his most recent one. And it's just called What the F Happened to Bloodlines 2. and it's actually it's a very good read. It's got some witty quips in it and some humor, but also some some good insight.
There's also I was doing some digging around, and yes, there is some. I probably shouldn't mention the company, but there was a company brought in to do the voice work and some music for the game, and that stuff was extremely expensive, and it was basically all done. This includes some actors that have not yet been named for the project. So, yeah, and I mean they're not like movie stars, but they're big names in the voice acting world, and that didn't come cheap. That came very expensive. So yeah,
it's sounding like a lot of that will have just been down the drain now.
Well, not down the drain. Coming from somebody who's connected to Paradox, it's been said that they are very little chance that they will cancel the project.
Right, but if
rebuilding
as you said
from scratch, yes.
I mean, if they keep the same story intact, then there's a good chance they'll be able to salvage a lot of that voice acting. But if they totally change the story, then they might have to start from scratch on that.
Yeah, that's a big question, right?
Yeah.
Like, how much can they salvage?
And again, we're pretty certain at this point that the game just wasn't up to snuff, and that they didn't have the ability, the experience, or the skills to really bring out that RPG. And I believe that is now more or less doubly confirmed now that we're looking at very, very, like the fact that this company is not hiring for the people to do another RPG, which means that I think that it was wasted effort, basically.